And we're here. It's our first official show, the three of us at least, of the off season, technically. So,
and pitchers and catchers have reported, but I don't want to say that.
We got combine coming up in 2 weeks.
That's what we're talking about. Underwear Olympics.
Yeah. And then 2 weeks after that, you got free agency, roughly 2 weeks after that.
March 12th, I think it is. Is it 12th? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And then
something like that. Yeah.
And then
I think the legal tampering is the 10th. It's always something to look forward to, Yeah,
there's a couple dead periods, like early April until the draft, and then
it's horrible.
Well, then the bad one is after rookie mini camps until training camp starts. That's the tough one. Because at least you get draft content to digest. But
it's because okay. So after the NFL draft, it's like you see your players, your guys who you're looking at, they've gone to certain teams, and then you want to hear OTA information. You want to hear how they're being used, and all of a sudden you start hearing, oh, he's got a hamstring issue, or his foot's effed up, or and it's like, Jesus, But anyway,
sometimes it hits. Like, remember Treylon Burks had like asthma and couldn't finish a practice, and he's gone by the wayside.
Yeah, like is that the Titans? That's the Titans clown, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's horrible.
He was the AJ Brown replacement.
Yeah, no kidding. That's what got the general manager fired.
Yeah,
Arkansas. That's right. He came out of Arkansas, and I get him and guy out of Atlanta mixed up. Sorry, having a little senior moment here.
Mooney?
No, the tall London, Drake London, because they were drafted. They were drafted together, at the same time. And
one's horrendous.
Yeah, they kind of look the same. And
size-wise, they're similar, yeah.
One's out of USC, isn't he? And one's out of Arkansas, but
yeah, London was USC.
Yeah, but one plays football.
Yeah,
one's gonna get cut.
And the worst part is, Titans have desperately needed wide receiver help ever since he was drafted there too. It's like.
Dumbest move they made was firing Mike Vrabel.
I don't know if he's all that.
Okay.
We'll see.
So he'll turn around. He'll turn around New England. You watch.
Yeah, I mean, he has his quarterback this time. No, I think they had fun teams there. They were different than everyone else.
They would beat the crap out of you. Derrick Henry, and always a good defense. And they rejuvenated Ryan Tannehill and A.J. Brown. And now they just threw it all away. Nice job. And then they said about a year ago,
no, go ahead.
They go, oh, we need a new stadium. It's like, Jesus,
So do I.
Yeah, no shit. Oh. Silence that phone.
Yeah, I was wondering, their stadium can't be that old.
No, they asked for a new stadium.
Yeah.
Taxpayer money. That's all the knuckleheads that go to Nashville and blow their money on booze and dumb music and stuff.
Yeah. But yes, the first.
We need to do a team.
Yeah, first show of the off season. So we got a long 7 months of no football, almost exactly 7 months. No NFL, a little bit less for college.
Who was the closest on the Super Bowl predictions? Because I was way off. You guys both went Eagles.
I picked the Eagles, and I said 34-31. I think Dad was a little bit lower.
I said Eagles, and I thought I said like 34, 20 something, 31.
I said 34-31, but
Yeah.
I don't know what you said.
Yeah. Yeah, I said Eagles. So, and the Eagles were in the 30s, and the Chiefs were in the 20s. So
Eagles were in the 40s.
Yeah, whatever.
And they score 40?
Yeah, you're right. 40-20, but sorry.
22.
Senior moment.
Won us a bunch of money.
Yeah. How's it going, James? I like your avatar, the horse running in the.
There we go.
Horse running in the wild or something. Maybe it's from a show. I don't know. It's not BoJack Horseman. I know that.
It's Spirit. No, I don't know. I think.
And Rip Lips is here, who we are reviewing another one of his teams. So, yeah, it's our Wednesday evening here. We're doing a team review. Obviously, any questions you guys have, Dynasty stuff, or you just want to talk about whatever, send us the questions, and as we review. And yeah, let's get right into it. It's a 10-team start 11. So last time we did a team for Rip Lips here, it was a 10-team start 10. So slightly deeper, but still not considered. It's a 12-team start 9. Essentially, if you play in 12-team leagues, that's the equivalent. It's a super flex PPR, half point tight end premium, and then half point for first downs. And I think that's for quarterbacks too, right? Rip Lips, that's not just wide receivers and running backs and tight ends, because that's rushing and receiving. So I assume that's for quarterbacks. I know some leagues do it where quarterbacks don't get the rushing first down stuff. Appreciate it. There, we put that out finally. The Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones video. Yeah, it was an interesting one. Jonathan Taylor's an interesting one, and it's good to talk about because he's actually on this team, so it's relevant. But as always, I will share the war tool here. Not much different from what we saw in his previous league, which was once again was a 10-team start 10. Super flex, tight end premium, half point, so all that good stuff. So we see it here. All kind of jumbled together at the top. Obviously quarterbacks are the most valuable. Running backs are a little bit more valuable than wide receivers, but I think that line can get a little bit closer in general. I think you're going to have a slight edge to running backs just because they generally lead in first downs. They get more first downs than the top guys. So you might have more of a slight edge than the previous league. And then, we still need those S tier type of players. Obviously, it's a little bit deeper. So we go a little bit further, like maybe into QB 9, 10, and then you start seeing the flat line, or wide receiver 15 or so, or running back 15, and then we see the flat line. So obviously tight ends, you have your top tier guys, and then it falls off to the next tier. And then basically outside the top 6 or 7 each year, it's not a whole lot. Not a whole lot of difference there between tight end 7 and tight end 17 or so. So yeah, his main question is, he just missed the playoffs, which we were kind of talking about pre-show. Kind of amazing that you missed the playoffs. We were a little bit shocked by that. I know it's only 4 teams, and you didn't, you missed it by points scored, it sounds like, or maybe another point tiebreaker. But he wants to know if he can compete. So let me share the team here. And I think the answer, I don't know why I did that. I think the easy answer here is yes, he can definitely compete here. I mean, he's stacked at quarterback in Daniels and Burrow. He has Jamar Chase. He has Jonathan Taylor, Hubbard. So he has kind of those S tier players. I think locked in, you have 3 S tier players. And then Jonathan Taylor is probably another one, in terms of being a top 4 or 5 guy. Any other guys that you would consider maybe sneaking into that, again, top 5 to 7 running back or wide receiver?
I would definitely include Jonathan Taylor. I think he does get the bump from the first down points perspective. You know, we know that kind of favors running backs. So I think that kind of bumps him up. Like, he's obviously not as coveted, but I think he can easily score. Yeah, like in that top 5, like you were saying. So
he kind of,
I think he counts.
Seemed like he had a bit of a down year, but I know you guys are looking at some advanced stats, you know, first downs, I guess.
You got to watch our video, Dad, about.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
You're not allowed. Actually, no, he was actually a lot better than you would think this year. For whatever reason, Fantasy Pros doesn't have 2024 stats. It's like I feel a little bit lost without it because I like probably check that almost every day. I'm like, what the hell, Fantasy Pros?
But they
but
do. You just have to dig a little bit, or not even really dig. But I use them during our videos quite a bit.
Well, I'm talking about like the last couple of days. I'm not talking about in general. They have 2020 stats, but the last couple of days have not been showing. It's only showing 2023. But Jonathan Taylor was RB5 in points per game. So does that shock you there, Dad, hearing that he was RB5 in points per game?
A little bit. I had him on a team, you know, and he started off a little slow. And, you know, when I kind of, you know, I was expecting a little more domination, I guess, from him, and I didn't quite feel it or see it. It seemed like maybe the last third or quarter of the season, last half of the season, he was a little better. It was a little better. I think there was an injury. He was out.
He missed 3 games. His last 5 games were amazing.
Maybe that's the feeling I felt, and I'm just trying to remember. And
his last 5 games were like out of this world, like, you know, especially the playoff run. You know, it's interesting with him, and we'll give you, I guess, a sneak peek of the video that we made is like this year. His 2024 season wasn't like that far off from his elite season in 2021 when he rushed for over 1,800 yards. He averaged 106.5 rushing yards per game in 2021. He averaged 102.2 this year. He just missed a few games and stuff. Like, he was actually really good. I agree. He has a very good chance of being one of those guys. I guess I was thinking more just like locking in. Like, I have Daniels, Burrow, and Chase. I'm like literally like banking on those guys being potentially 2 top 5 quarterbacks and wide receiver 1, you know, whereas Jonathan Taylor, like, yeah, I could see him being top 4 or 5, but I also could easily just see him being like RB10, which is still really good, but not quite the S tier caliber. It's about touchdowns for him. If that offense ever gets it together, you know, he could easily have a 20 touchdown game or season game. Jeez, it'd be awesome. Anyone else though that could like sneak in there, like even as like a low end 1 at the position? Chuba Hubbard, Flowers, Pickens, Judy again.
I don't think so. Like, I don't think I can see Chuba getting. You're saying 1 overall at the position?
No, not 1 overall. Like low end 1.
Oh,
you know, maybe not S tier caliber, but like the next tier down of guys.
Yeah, I mean the easy answer is Kincaid and Chuba, I think.
Yeah,
you know, to be a top 12 tight end, you don't really have to do as much, and Chuba is going to be the workhorse with that late season injury to Jonathan Brooks.
So, yeah, top 12 tight end. I guess for tight end, it would be more like, can he be like top 6? Yeah, because top 12 is like basically nothing.
Yeah, I think Chuba getting top 12 is more likely than Dalton Kincaid getting top 6, but I could see it still for Kincaid.
Yeah, Chuba is like severely underrated. I've been like digging into Chuba a little bit more, just like, what do we have here? Is it real type of thing? The guy was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. I know that doesn't mean much and stuff like that, but Went to, it kind of reminds me of Ollie Gordon this year a little bit, but went to Oklahoma State. Had a pretty good rookie freshman year. He had a really good, actually, for a freshman. He had almost 1,000 total yards, 9 touchdowns. He had an Ashton Genty like 2019 season. I don't really remember this, to be honest. He rushed for 2,100 yards, and then had another 200 yards through the air. So he had 2,300 total yards and 21 touchdowns. And then he was really bad in 2020, whether it was the offense or whatever, but he just, efficiency dropped off. And I think it's easy to like point to, oh, it was Chuba, he's not good or something, but he also missed some time. And then he falls in the draft a little bit to round 4. And now we're seeing him be awesome. So I think Chuba's I'd be worried if I had Jonathan Brooks, but I mean, you have both here, Rip Lips, which is nice, but just anyone watching that has Jonathan, I think Chuba is a problem, for him, for sure. Anyways, my little Chuba rant there.
Well, I think we always thought he was, my feeling about him, and not knowing enough, and I didn't know about the 2,000 with Oklahoma State and stuff like that, 2,000 yards you're talking about.
Yeah.
So just NFL, it seemed like he was always a team's number 2 running back, and he wasn't the man.
Yeah. Dad, I remember you talking shit about him a little bit in his rookie year.
Who, me?
Yeah, because you're like, we don't even know who this guy is. And it's he's McCaffrey's backup. And you're like, yeah, well, we wouldn't give a shit if he wasn't that. And it's like, well, yeah, you got to care, though.
Well, yeah. If you're McCaffrey's backup now, I mean, back in those days, you didn't know who the hell the guy was and stuff like that. And I didn't.
Well, he played. I think he played that year. Because I think that was one of the McCaffrey injury years.
His first year, wasn't that McCaffrey being traded year, or was that one year before?
It might have been the trade year. It was either the trade year or the last full year with the Panthers.
2021.
Okay, so what got my attention though was when the Panthers decided to give him a contract extension.
Yeah, I definitely pricks the ears up.
I'm late to the party, as I've been before with players. So
yeah,
Chuba Hubbard is on my list of guys that I like, and I don't know what his injury was this year. If it was serious,
I don't think it was anything serious. I think they just shut him down.
They just shut him down because they worked the shit out of him, and but so Chuba is pretty high on my list. So it's looking at the team, and you looking at Taylor and Chuba Hubbard, you going, and Brian Robinson, you going, damn, what?
I would sell Brian Robinson right now.
Well, okay, no, I'm just talking about the team. Okay, are you going to sell him? What are you going to sell him for? So I'm just talking about what we're looking at right here, and you don't have to be a Brian Robinson fan. Just be open-minded.
No, I've never been.
If you can sell him, sell him.
No, he's definitely one that I wanted to bring up. I guess first I'll start off. Yes, obviously this team can compete. You have some depth. Can you clean up the flex spots? Sure, but also you just need a couple guys to kind of play a little bit better, and Pickens, Flowers in particular. But we'll talk about those guys later.
Christian Kirk. Yeah, what are you going to get out of him now? Where does he stand?
Yeah, you have no idea with a new coach coming in.
Okay, well then,
he's going to be the new.
I guess he doesn't have any. Oh, he's got draft capital.
No, I know.
Yeah. Okay.
He has the 209. He has the 209 in the. Are you talking about the team?
Yeah. Yes. So yeah,
he has 209.49. I don't think there's a whole lot of moves to make with this team, to be honest. Just because there's a lot of people that are ranked maybe a little bit lower than they should. Chuba to me is undervalued. All these other guys, I'm probably just keeping them unless, I'm not selling them for much. Like, because they can, all these guys, do you get starts and potential RB2 production from a combination of Ramondre, Kendre Miller, Estime, Gibson, Herbert, Mitchell? Probably over the course of the season, you're probably getting a handful of RB2 starts from that giant group of guys, and like no one out, like, to me, Brian Robinson, I'm just saying, like, I think they're going to draft a running back, and that's just me speculating, and they could very well not. I just don't think I think he's a solid player. I don't think he's like much of a difference maker. And I think if they could easily bring in a player to overtake his job, really, someone that I think would just be better, So, like, yeah, I'd take a early, even mid-second probably for Brian Robinson and just, like, cash out there.
I think the Commanders, they need to address I understand what you're saying, and there's two ways of addressing players. It's getting new players. It's free agency, which we'll know mid-March, and then the draft. So they need another wide receiver.
Yeah, definitely.
They need another dominant wide receiver too, whatever you want to call them, to kind of complete their team. So to help complete their team. But the running back, like you said, we're pounding this in. The running back draft class is very good. So don't be intimidated by running backs getting drafted in the second, third, or fourth round. Especially second. Be
intimidated.
Huh?
Or do be intimidated if you have the running back on the team that drafts them. So,
well, yeah. I mean, I'm just talking about picking the guys in your in your rookie fantasy draft, saying like, oh, this guy was drafted in the third round. I don't want him.
Yeah, Rip Lips knows this. He's been doing mock drafts and stuff. So he's
good for Rip Lips. Isn't he the Frito-Lay guy?
Yes. Yeah.
Good job. How was your Super Bowl, Rip Lips? Hope it was good.
I paused for a second, waiting for a response, and then realized he's
Debo to Commanders. Yes.
He can't speak. Yeah, maybe Debo to the Commanders. They definitely are going to bring in. I love Matthew Golden to the Commanders, but anyways, I think Brian Robinson, I would. He's a guy I'd cash out on. It could be you could lose that, like if they don't draft anyone and he's just their starter again. But at the same time, like, do we expect much more than what he did this year? And it didn't move the needle really. I mean, you just look at the, again, the Ward tool here. He's all the way down, equivalent to guys like Stevenson. Kareem Hunt was better than him. Tracy, guys like that. So I'm fine with just like resetting that pick a little bit. Obviously Kincaid, if people are overvaluing the 0.5 point tight end premium, that's something I'm going to take advantage of. And if someone still values Kincaid, and we can kind of go through some teams here, maybe that could potentially use him, but I would sell on him. And then I'm thinking about potentially like with packaging both these two, Zay Flowers and George Pickens. I don't really see how do these guys go up, I guess? How do they do better? Like Zay Flowers on Baltimore. We have never seen a wide receiver. I think the best season we've ever seen might be Zay Flowers this last year, or like Marquise Brown in 2021. Do we see much of an improvement from Flowers? Pickens, the quarterback situation, and I think they probably bring in another weapon. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. Like, I don't really see.
No, I agree.
How they go up. I think they're properly ranked.
You don't see what you see is what you're going to get moving forward, I think.
Unless somehow the Steelers get a better quarterback situation that we're just not seeing. Or Pickens is on it. Like you're holding out for Pickens on another team in 2026, maybe,
Steelers need to address their wide receiver situation too. So,
that's what I'm saying. I think that they're definitely targeting someone at 21. I think they have 22.
Yeah. I mean, like Mecca Buka.
Mecca Buka, Luther Burden. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And they could have Justin Fields as their quarterback,
They could have Aaron Rodgers. That's the big I listen to a lot of XM radio, and
that's your problem.
Why? Why in the hell? You guys don't know what the hell I'm not listening to scrubs. We're listening to real shit.
Well, it's that 5G that's messing with your brain. No, 5G. That's kind of weird though. Like that feels like a weird fit, right? Like Rodgers.
No, it does. And I almost don't seen it, but I'm just saying, I'm just kind of throwing it out there that I'm not going to throw out garbage information, and it's something to see. And you know what? But hey, we'll find out. We'll find out real soon. I think the Steelers would be better off with Justin Fields, but
not for the receivers, though.
What's that?
I mean, not for the receivers. Like
no, Justin Fields as the quarterback will affects the receivers.
Yeah.
Well, DJ Moore was good with Justin Fields.
Yeah. That's the one that was like a hyper target situation.
Yeah.
I don't think Pickens is as good as Moore.
Would you call it a hyper target?
Yeah, just like hyper targeting. Like
just
targeting him. That's the guy I'm going to throw to, right?
This is I've always had this issue with Pickens, and like I remember people like calling me crazy in the comments and stuff. It was like the dude doesn't separate. I know he makes these spectacular catches. He doesn't separate, and it worked with Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson is willing to throw up those moon balls and just take that shot. You have to have the quarterback that's going to be comfortable with throwing into a tight coverage window, and that's why he doesn't get a lot of targets. That's why he doesn't get a lot of catches. And that's a bad combination if you score in your 3-year career 12 touchdowns, combined. Like you need either, like he's never had more, his highest reception total is 63. He was on pace to break that this year, but still he had 59 this year in 14 games. It's not like he was going to have it's not like he was going to have, he was averaging 4 a game. So, he wasn't even going to hit 80. Right. So like you need touchdowns, and I just don't know if that's going to be coming here. By the way, he said his Super Bowl is good. His brother-in-law is a Chiefs fan. He's a 49ers fan. So he got some kind of revenge, I guess, if you can call it that. That's just my issue with like Pickens. Flowers, I think he's a great player. You throw Flowers on the Bills or the Chargers or maybe the Chiefs, like all these other teams, like he's a lot better. It's the Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry show, and Mark Andrews is still there. And so I'm kind of interested in packaging these two guys and getting an elite player, one of the S tier guys that we always talk about. Right. And I think you could do it. I think they're properly ranked. I don't think they're underranked. I think like they're probably, low end wide receiver 2s, high end wide receiver 3s. There's always the upside if they move to another team or improve their situation, whatever. But like also in this league, right? And if we go back again and we find these guys here, like George Pickens is all the way down this list, of just like a bunch of guys that don't really. There's just a whole lot of guys that are within kind of like 0.2 WAR value from them, and so like you can find a replacement. Most likely. Flowers is obviously a little bit higher, but even he's in this just like giant group of guys that kind of starts with like Devonta Smith, and these guys and goes all the way to, guys like Jaden Reed and Pickens and stuff. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. Like, would you package those two and try and get one of those? Is there a team that we can potentially target? It is I think first year. They just finished their first year, so it's another one of those situations. Like, our team's really going to want to rebuild? Because I think he's kind of set in a lot of spots. I don't know if you've How you feel about those guys, Brian Pickens and Flowers?
Yeah, I'm fine with like putting them together to try and move up, but I just wonder how much. Obviously, the league's pretty active trading wise. Like a lot of picks got moved around, which is good. We don't know if that necessarily happened in season or in the draft, but yeah, I kind of like. I like the idea of it, but I just wonder how much you're gonna you are gonna be able to move up. Sorry, I started reading Wesley's comment here.
Yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I honestly, I do like his team already.
Yeah.
And I think he's got like a lot of leeway, like, I mean, and you see this a lot, like you've mentioned a few times, Mike, like after the first year, like most of the teams are like pretty close to each other. Obviously like his strengths in his two starting quarterbacks and Chase, and those are like solid ass like building blocks basically. And I'd be willing to just kind of like play it out for, the first 5 weeks and then start, shopping guys around if it's not happening, basically including everyone else on the team at that point. But yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to package those guys and like trade, but I'm just kind of like looking through some of these teams and like, I just feel like everyone's so kind of like close together.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be a little tough to find like who that trade partner is, I guess. Maybe Rip Lips, you can chime in a little bit and let us know like what the trading during the season kind of looked like.
Yeah, I'm curious if there's a team that has like kind of a weak receiver room, but they have a stud, and maybe you can convince them like, hey, you need to trade. You need these two guys for one, or even I'll even throw in freaking Kincaid. I don't care.
This is a 10 team league, isn't it?
10 team, start 11, so
Yeah.
we're starting 110 guys. It says in season trading, about half the league is active.
Yeah. Okay.
So off season, maybe even less. It's always hard right now. Like between now and until the draft, it's going to be hard, and then from the draft until season gets closer, even Real quick with Wesley's question here. So worth it in a non-tight end premium to pay Laporta plus a late first for McBride. What's that late first, Wesley? Is it like the 112 or is it like the 108, 109? Because if it's like the 112, I don't hate it. I probably would just roll with Laporta in the first, but I also don't mind that either because I still think Laporta, like just because he was kind of had a down year, he still finished the year strong, and he's still going to be a big part of that offense and everything. He's not going to be like that far off. If it's a random like 2026 first and you're thinking it's late, I'm not doing that because I don't want to give up that future flexibility. So if it's like the 111, 112, okay. If you want to do that, I'm fine. Either way, though, I'm probably holding out. I don't know if you guys disagree or agree there.
I mean, yeah, I'm kind of fine with it either way. Like, I'm not
like the 108.
Yeah, maybe not the 8.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm
wait
kind of
for a tight end,
honestly.
No, 108 in Laporta for McBride.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I see that one.
Yeah, I don't want to. Again, if it's like 111, 112, sure. But I mean, just last year, Laporta was overrated. Higher, right there with McBride. So, and he finished the season strong and all that. But, yeah. So hopefully that helps, Wesley. You can let me know if you know the specific pick. Yeah, he said the Puka owner. What do you mean by that? By the way, yeah.
I think he's saying he's the one with the stud. The guy's got Higgins and Evans too.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely trade those two guys for Puka. And again, I'd even throw in like a Kincaid if you wanted it, or my 209. I don't really care too much. Because again, like you have what we say, like in the league like this, we want four hammers, 4 S tier guys, 3 or 4. You can win with 3, especially with like, Chuba and other guys. But if you kind of lock up like 4, maybe 5, you're going to be in a really good spot, in my opinion, assuming health and all that. So, yeah, I would definitely do that.
I think a good thing to like kind of point out too, well, just kind of to reiterate, I guess, like the advantage you have at the quarterback position is strong. Like there's a few other teams that are ranked higher than you, but it's mostly because they have just a ton of guys, kind of a thing. So I like where you're sitting right there. So
absolutely.
I really feel like having Gino and possibly even Jameis like gives you flexibility like throughout the season. As far as like if things start falling apart a little bit, like one of those guys, more likely Gino, but like they should hold some value. We don't know what the Jameis situation is going to be like yet, but I mean, geez, he could be the starter for a few different teams, possibly, at which point you just try and flip him, because I mean, he's so good for fantasy in general.
Yeah.
But it's not a long-term asset.
And James, we'll get to this in just a second. And just to hammer that home, like if you look at, again, kind of what their value was in the wins above replacement, it was for Lamar, was it Jaden? No, Jaden and Burrow, right? I added Lamar. I don't know why I put Lamar, but I mean, Jaden could be potentially Lamar, but they're like as valuable as like Saquon, almost as valuable as like Saquon and Henry. Like those two guys, they're slightly less valuable than those two. Just a huge advantage of that with Chase. Like those 3 guys can win you weeks pretty easily. So, I kind of felt that way too. Like I don't necessarily need to make moves. I am going to explore packaging Flowers and Pickens, and then throwing whatever else they want if they feel like they want your 209 or even Kincaid, like for one of those top tier guys, like we mentioned in the last show. The Brian Thomas, Amon-Ra, Puka, Neighbors, Gibbs, Bijan, Genty. I don't think you can do that, but
yeah. I like I'm looking at Fantasy One team, their team. Like I'm just looking at like he's got a decent wide receiver room, so you might not have to package there. Like this guy's obviously looks like he's like building for the future with how much future capital he has this year and next. So and he needs it, honestly. Outside of that wide receiver room, I mean, quarterbacks are fine, but I don't know. Maybe that's something to think about, like trying like buy cheaper on Odunze or something like that, just in case. I'm not saying trade both those guys for Odunze or anything, but
I'd do Pickens and Kincaid for Odunze.
Yeah,
and just hope he hits.
Yeah, that could be the move.
I don't
know if I'm quite there yet, but
I think you're all right with that move.
I'm just thinking of what I like about, I'm going to toot our own horns a little bit, of like when we discuss stuff, because I feel like you guys are a little bit, Brian, maybe a little bit not skeptical, but hesitant on like rookies or like more like production on the field versus like obviously that's really important. I also like to think about like, what if Rome Odunze has a big year next year? He like shoots up the board, like he's a top 7 wide receiver. And so I always think about like, that cashing that chip in that goes 3 times the value versus probably what Pickens is going to be, what he's been his whole career, is kind of that wide receiver 3/2. And that's not going to, he's either going to stay where he's at, maybe slightly move up if he has a decent season, or go down. So I'm always thinking about that. Like Odunze, I mean, where was he ranked going into the season? I'm trying to find him now. You got Ben Johnson, and if you believe in Caleb Williams. So he was as high as wide receiver 12, end of September. Odunze was, like it's very easy for him to get back up there.
Yeah. So, another team from a different approach that might be good to target. Like this might set you back a little for this year, possibly, but is McNasty, who's only got Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield at this point for quarterback. Like it's literally just those two. It's like maybe you throw Gino
in here.
What's that?
Pretty sure he's this is McNasty, right? I don't know. I need to match names to everyone has different like Discord names, YouTube names, team names. I'm pretty sure. No, maybe not. Yeah. Is McNasty? Are you in here, Alexander? I thought that was someone. But anyways, finish your thought.
Yeah, but it's funny that you say that because it's like this could be a move that could benefit both teams too. Like where you're trading the third quarterback to someone who needs depth based on their roster. Like they're pretty good at running back. Wide receiver, not as much, but if you're swapping out, like if you're going after like a Nico Collins or a Garrett Wilson for one of those other receivers plus the quarterback, like that could work out for both teams.
Yeah. There's a potential orphan team. I don't know if their name is just orphan team or if it actually is an orphan team. Psychologically, when you take over an orphan team, you kind of go into rebuild mode. I don't know if this player is going to think that way with Caleb, Bucky, Goff, decent receivers, not great. Kyron, McCaffrey, probably not. But just in case they have that psychological, like, oh, I have an orphan, I need to rebuild. So Dunze is not for sale in this league. I tried the 106 for him and got denied. Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't take that either. I don't think it was a bad trade. I'd probably just hold out on the Dunze though. Even though you're maybe slightly getting more.
I'd roll the dice on that. I'd take the 106 for a Dunze.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. We were talking about like people talking about like a Dunze might be the best receiver in this draft, like. So you got a new coach in there, and I think he's like.
Yeah, it's Ben Johnson who's got to get it out of him.
Yeah, and it's more of like we just look at guys ranked in that range, right? And this is what I'm always looking at is like who can go into like top 7, 8 wide receiver range in this range of guys. Like a Dunze, Devontae Smith, I don't see it happening personally. Xavier Worthy, maybe, but probably unlikely. Addison, it's not going to happen. Flowers, it's not going to happen. DJ Moore is not going to happen because of the age. So I don't know. I'm just always like thinking about even guys are slightly ahead of him. T. Higgins, it's probably not going to happen. AJ Brown, it's probably not even going to happen. Like because he'll be going into his 29-year-old season, assuming he goes off next year. And look at where McLaurin is. McLaurin, who was just if you take out the first like 2 weeks of the season, was like wide receiver like 5 or 7 or something. Damn you, fantasy pros being down. And he's still wide receiver 27. So like the age. So I don't know. I'm just looking at like there's like 2 guys in my opinion. It's a Dunze and it's Rashee Rice, like in that range of wide receiver 14 to 24. So it is an actual orphan. But he has a pretty good team, to be honest. Like I don't think that's a bad team to take over. Like Caleb, Goff, Bucky, Kyron, CMC, Alave Ayuk, Laporta, the 104. It's a pretty solid team. Too many.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too because like he took some shots on some guys too, and that actually decently worked out.
Shit, Connor and
Bucky and stuff. Yeah.
Sorry.
What's that?
I was just looking at even further down. Connor, Swift, Pollard. Like that's a damn good team. Anyways,
all right. Send Mike the invite link. He'll take over the team.
Yeah. No, we're gonna be maybe, but we're probably gonna be since we're putting together our own leagues. I gotta calm down a little bit. Yeah, there was something else I was gonna say. Oh, so I guess the main thing is, I think your team's fine how it is. I don't mind packaging Flowers and Pickens and going top notch guy, S tier guy. I don't mind selling high on Kincaid if he has any type of value there. Brian Robinson, Ramondre Stevenson, like Jonathan Brooks. If I can get a second for these guys, Brian Robinson, I'd probably want, a high, at least a high second. I probably wouldn't do it for a late. Brooks and Ramondre, I think I would just do it for any second. And just hopefully cash out there. Obviously, these other guys. Yeah, there's really no like tier down options here, in my opinion, because you have the top guys. Like maybe Jonathan Taylor, but I don't know. He's kind of at the end of a tier. I don't know. Like you probably have to go down to like, I don't know, the Monty range to like really find a trade partner that's going to give you something significant plus. Like, I don't think anyone's giving you like James Cook on top of something for JT or Josh Jacobs and something for JT. So, I mean, if they do, sure. But these guys are probably cuts. Mechie, Tipton, probably Josh Palmer, unfortunately. Any guys on the waiver wire?
Yeah, if you trade Kincaid, pick up Gesicki, especially with Eric All not going to play next year.
It's interesting that Gesicki's on the waiver wire. He is a free agent, though, by the way.
Yeah, he'll be back.
Probably. But no one likes him.
Cincinnati's got a lot of things to address.
Yeah, you give him like $2.5 million. It's fine.
I heard something interesting on, I think it was the CBS podcast today, and they said he dropped him. Talking about Ben Johnson seeing Amon-Ra St. Brown at USC, because Amon-Ra basically never played in the slot at USC, and saying, hey, this guy should play in the slot. And I think that's what's kind of like turned Amon-Ra into what he is. And speculating, like, do they think that way with DJ Moore potentially? I think DJ Moore is like a massive kind of buy low. I almost wish Ben Johnson didn't go there. I mean, I'm glad he is going, but I think because like he was going to be even a bigger buy low. So obviously, all our buy low guys we talked about in the last not video, but the live stream with your team. Like the veteran running backs. All those guys that we mentioned, the DJ Moores, the Waddles, the Tyreek Hills of the world, hell, even like McLaurin, in my opinion, buy low. What do we think about Judy on his team? Like, obviously he's going to have to do it again for him to like really get value from people, but do we think he can do it again? Or is it just Jameis the Magic Man?
I mean, anything's better than the way Watson's been playing, right? Like, I think he definitely could do what he did, but without Jameis. But he's going to need competent quarterback play. And who's to say that Jameis isn't even going to be there? I mean, they kind of told us when they benched him, they're like, oh, we want to win games.
Yeah.
Which Jameis isn't.
I think they wanted to lose games.
Are you really going to? Yeah. Are you going to rely on Jameis for anything?
Well, if they can't find a quarterback, they got the number 2 pick. So ball's in their court for a quarterback. I'm interested of Kirk Cousins because he has a connection with Stefanski there. I believe they were in Minnesota together. I think that's where Stefanski came from. So he was like Stefanski was the quarterback's coach and then offensive coordinator while Cousins was there. So I think that's an outside shot that maybe Cousins goes there as a bridge, maybe.
Cousins in Cleveland would suck. Playing outdoors, man. He hasn't played outdoors in years.
Yeah, since Washington, or I guess when he plays on the road. Yeah, and I also think like there's a chance that like the guy did come off an Achilles injury. Like maybe we're mailing it in a little bit too fast on Cousins. Maybe you can squeeze another year out of him. But I don't know. I think Judy's interesting because I remember talking about Judy when we were doing our preview for each week, Brian, and like he's getting a lot of targets. That's basically what we would say about him. He just wasn't doing much with them. But like you look at his targets, even the beginning of the year, 8, 6, 7, 9, 3, 3, 6, 8, and then Jameis comes in and it goes off, right? So I don't know. Yeah, they're definitely going to need a quarterback, but could be Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders if they want to go that route. So I think he's like a sneaky. He could be. I wouldn't be surprised if like Judy was just like better fantasy wise than Flowers and Pickens next year. It wouldn't shock me. So
maybe.
R.I.P. Tank Dell. That sucks.
Yeah,
it really sucks. And then we're gonna talk about Kincaid soon in a buy sell hold video, but I'm kind of out on Kincaid, man. Like the guy was worse.
Come on, it's only been 2 years.
He was worse this year, okay. So I was ready to like be completely out, and then they came out and said like, "Oh yeah, he was dealing with a knee injury all year," and I was like, "God damn it!" Now I'm gonna like have that in the back of my mind. But he was worse this year. Like how? Like he had all the opportunity in the world, and he was terrible. I don't know. And Riplips is out too. Yeah, like I don't know. It's kind of crazy. By the way, I think he's older than Kyle Pitts. Just saying. Kyle Pitts, year 5 breakout coming in.
No, are you shitting me? Damn.
Look at Njoku, man. That's what we were saying about Njoku.
Oh, Pitts.
Now Njoku, everyone loves him.
Pitts is horrible.
I will, if he does get lower in the rankings, I will buy low on him in a couple teams. He's still a little bit too high, but
he's terrible.
I don't know if he's terrible, but he's not the that's why I get upset. Like, not upset, but
snookered.
There's too many people that are very like
remember the pre-draft hype on him? Like
they took him over Jamar Chase and Penei Sewell.
Yeah, there you go.
But one thing I will say is like and this kind of proves the point of like I think there's too many people that are just like they need to make this bold statement in the community of like, this guy is terrible. It's never, or like, how can you have anyone over Ashton Genty or whatever? And like, we see it every single freaking year. It just never plays out how we think it's going to play out. So I don't mind like people going a little bit against the grain as long as they can support their argument as to why. And like, people are just so quick to dismiss it. Like everyone would have told you you're crazy to not take Kyle Pitts second or third in that draft or whatever, like, and they're the crazy one, right? So just a little rant there. Yeah, he doesn't really have. I wonder if that's because how they use him, though. They use him like a deep threat. It's kind of weird. But anything else with this team before we get to James's question?
No, I think that's about it for me.
Yeah. Joe Milton, pick him up just in case he has a little bit of a cult following, just in case they trade him or whatever, and he gets.
If he's available and you don't have to pay nothing for him, but when's he going to get his chance?
They'd have to trade him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would take him over like a Mariota.
You know, holy shit, it can't be you look good in one game and, you know, you're the next coming of Brady or something.
Oh, I know, and it was against backups.
I can't believe since the Super Bowl how down everybody is on Mahomes and the Chiefs in general. It's just like, and I'm not. The scripts get flipped, way too much and stuff.
Yeah, that's my whole point with just like people are very too like I like to guess. I like to see range of outcomes. Like someone says, I don't think Ashton Genty's RB1. Okay, tell me why. And like, if you have a good argument, like we've been watching football long enough, and I know people are watching this have been watching it long enough to know like shit just never plays out how we think it's going to play out. It just really doesn't.
Yeah,
so.
you just told us that Chuba Hubbard had 2,000 yards his second year in Oklahoma State, and then he kind of stunk his last year there, and and he was kind of drafted kind of low. And
recruit.
Yeah,
I haven't.
He wasn't a five. He wasn't a 5-star. It's just like what they say about Purdy. Like, my God, you're going to give him $60 million. Like,
I'm saying that.
I don't.
I know. I made a wild statement on the Monday stream saying 49ers trade Purdy and then they bring in Rodgers and go all in for 2025.
Trade him to the Raiders, right?
No, I don't know. Trade him to whatever. But I was kind of being a little bit. I was being, just being exaggerating a bit, but I don't know. I'm not convinced that they want to pay him $50 million a year. So,
better have room for Devontae Adams.
Jeez,
man.
Yeah, they definitely did a cheap parody, and it's completely unpredictable, man. Like everyone would have called you crazy if you took, well, maybe not, but like Gibbs over Bijan. I don't know if they would have called you crazy, but like most people had Bijan over Gibbs. You can argue Gibbs is better, or whatever. Like there's just a lot of unpredictable shit that happens. Any other questions, guys, that you have? You can start dropping them in, but we'll answer James. Hang around for 5 minutes, and if there's nothing else, we'll head out. But he says, "What's your opinion on the difference between Nix and Herbert? In my league, Nix was QB7 and Herbert was QB12. A lot of value is placed on running the ball. I think they kind of fall into that bucket. And I posted a video on, I think it was last week, about like Dynasty. I think it was Risers or something. And I think I worded it wrong, but I said like Nix, I said his running is not a part of his game. But I meant it more for fantasy. I think we overrate exactly how much we think actually Nix is running the ball, because it's like he's obviously moving, but he averaged 25 yards a game. He had 7 games of under 10 yards rushing. That's pretty significant. So it was more comparing him to like difference making rushing guys. So I kind of see them in that giant bucket of guys. Obviously on the upper end, both of them, because they're younger, and we've seen it from Herbert. An elite season. Nix is a rookie who's 30 years old. But yeah, I kind of see him at like this giant bucket of guys. To me, they're both tier down type of options if I can get a haul for them. But in terms of the difference between them, who do you guys value more? Do you see a huge difference between them, fantasy wise, Herbert and Nix?
No, I don't.
I'd still much rather have Herbert.
Much rather in like, are you just in a vacuum between the two, but like, are you adding something to Nix to go get Herbert? Like a first round pick or?
Yeah, I don't really think you have to,
No, probably not. But you said you'd much rather have him. So I'm just curious, like where you're at.
Like if I could trade him straight up, like if I have Nix and I can get Herbert, I would do that. Sure.
But I'm saying, would you like add something to Nix and be like, yeah, I want to go out and get Herbert? Like I'm not adding anything. I guess
not even a second.
Probably not. To be honest, like I don't know.
Like George Pickens.
I mean, maybe I'd throw a second just because I feel more confident in Herbert. like Knicks could have a down second year. We see guys, just like we talked about how unpredictable everything is. Like we see guys go from like they shine bright and then they fizzle out, like we see it all the time. So yeah, maybe I'd throw like a second, sure, but like I don't want nothing significant. I guess it goes back to the point, like to me, they're in that bucket of guys, and I think Herbert has more. I think he has more, like the perception wise, he has more value. So he's more valuable in that sense. But like, I don't know, what do we really expect from Herbert for fantasy? Like, I don't expect 40 touchdown seasons. Maybe, but I don't really expect it. I expect like 30 to 35 and 4,000 to 4,300 yards, and
I demand 40 touchdowns.
Yeah, I just don't know if, like, I know they kind of went to throwing the ball a little bit more. I don't know if they want to do that necessarily. I don't know. It's interesting because it's like Herbert's their best player, so you go with your best player. But also, I don't know if like the Dobbins Edwards experience was like exactly what they wanted. Like, if they get a stud running back in this draft, are they just going to kind of go like Eagles mode, a little bit, and just like feed them? But yeah, I'll take Herbert over Knicks. I don't see a whole lot of difference between them. I think there's more safety in Herbert because I think he's going to be around longer, like guaranteed. What do you think the age difference between the two of them is, Dad?
Between Herbert and Knicks?
Knicks. Yeah. How much older do you think?
A year.
Yeah, probably because I asked it that way. It's a year and a half. I think that would shock a lot of people.
Yeah, well, it is.
A little bit more than a half. But.
Yeah. But I don't think we're going to get out of Herbert the 45 touchdowns and the 4,800 yards and that type stuff. So I don't think they're going to run the offense like that. So
I think they have very comparable stats. Assuming that everything plays out well with Knicks. I think why Herbert's more valuable is we've seen it for a longer time and we're more confident. Like, I'd be very surprised if Herbert just fell off. Whereas like Knicks, he could have a fall, he falls off or something. So I think that's where like the value of Herbert over Knicks, but like assuming everything kind of plays out, I don't see a whole lot of difference between their fantasy production. So hopefully that answers that. I think that's it for tonight, Saturday morning. I know you're not going to be here, Dad. Maybe you and me, Brian, doing a Dynasty startup mock or something, if you're around. So we'll figure that out.
Yeah, I probably will be. It's a long weekend. I don't think we're going anywhere, so we'll figure it out.
Yep, and I'll be live tomorrow doing some rookie mocks again. So we will see everyone then. Have a great Wednesday, Valentine's Day, all that good stuff.